You're watching Taste the Victory.
One of my favorite Digimon in the history of the franchise, because Paildramon is one of the coolest designs I've ever seen. We have Imperialdramon, a fan favorite old deck getting new cards to update it in BT12. There's a bit more of a control aspect introduced into the new cards in BT12, but you still are largely working with the DNA Digivolution mechanic to quickly climb up to an insane boss monster that is able to do some big damage with multiple checks, or just get rid of an opponent's Digimon. So you have a lot of pieces you have to dig for, and you have a lot of ways to dig for it. Let's go ahead and start looking at how we're going to support this strategy. Now, I know normally I would go level by level, which I enjoy doing, but this is an impromptu profile after a bunch of testing that I feel finally worked out, and I don't really want to go back and forth, adding a lot of the different cards that this deck uses. Apparently, there's a lot of unique cards in it at this hour. So without further ado, let's get on to the profile. First up is the egg Wanyamon. We are only running 4 of it. This is the only egg we are running. When attacking, once per turn, if you have a blue tamer in play, draw 1. This now becomes the best egg in the entire color blue because it is such an easy condition to meet to get a free draw 1, which is important in a deck that needs to see a ton of pieces to function. This is a deck where I don't hate running 5 eggs. If you really want the 5th, if you predict a bunch of grind games and you need the extra draw, you can put it in Upamon. You have a lot of source stripping in this deck as it is, so it's not the worst. Then we have our 12 rookies, starting off with the new Veemon introduced in this set. This is 3 memory to Heart Slam, 0 to Digivolve from a blue or green level 2, 1000 DP. He is a searcher. When on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with Imperialdramon in its name or free in its traits, and 1 Tamer card with Davis in its name from among them to your hand, and then bottom deck the rest. Fantastic searcher, because we always love cards that grab us multiple off a search in this game, and it's very easy to hit anything in this deck. The only thing this doesn't really grab is our Wanyamon hybrid that we'll get to in a second, and our option cards. End of turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card in your hand by paying its DNA Digivolution cost. Incredible effect, because this lets us DNA Digivolve even if we pass turn by hard slamming the other card onto the field as part of the DNA Digivolution requirements, letting us extend our plays without having to worry about passing turn and shutting off our plays because it's now our opponent's turn. A lot of our stuff on DNA Digivolution has additional effects, so this will allow them to go off even though passing turn, which will be enough to give us momentum even though we pass turn with our DNA Digivolution. This Veemon does a lot in one card, which is why it's fantastic, and we have to run 4 of it. Then we have the old Veemon from BT8, 3 memory to Heart Slam, 2000 DP, on play reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 2-color blue card among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. This searches a lot of stuff, as you can see in our deck. Most of our top end is dual color, so we're not even worried about missing that, and it even grabs our Tamers and our Megadeath option card. Now, plenty of people will want to run the old starter deck Veemon because it grabs the free type, I believe. And I totally understand that, and I definitely think that's a valuable option. It's up to your personal preference. If you want to run 4 of the old starter deck Veemon instead of this one, feel free to, absolutely. It's up to personal preference and how you build your list. However, I think having the option to dig deeper with 4 cards and being able to grab our Tamer, Davis Ken, and a Megadeath in the right situation could be really helpful to swing a game. So I do like having the option to grab those instead of body decking them for when we may need them. It's a niche scenario, so yeah, maybe you want to run starter deck Veemon instead if that's what you prefer, but I like having the option there, so I run this Veemon instead. Then we have the new Wormmon, also introduced in BT12. It's basically the exact same thing as the Veemon we saw earlier from BT12, except it searches for Ken as its tamer. Another card that lets you DNA Digivolve at the end of turn as well, so if you have one or the other, you could slam the other corresponding color champion and DNA Digivolve. So it's a little bit redundant at 8 copies, 4 of each, but I do like it just to make sure we always have that opportunity available to end the turn DNA Digivolve. I don't think it's terribly redundant. Then we go on to our champions. First is the new card introduced in the set, ExVeemon. 4 memory to Heart Slam, 4000 DP, 2 to Digivolve from a level 3 that is green or blue. Your turn, when this Digimon would DNA Digivolve into a green Digimon, gain 1 memory, and your turn inheritable. When this Digimon is Imperialdramon in its name or free in its traits, it gains jamming. The jamming inheritable is incredibly valuable to make sure our, Paildramon and stuff can start swinging in security and not being worried about deleted by anything other than option cards. So I really like that. And then being able to gain back that memory when you DNA will help you keep turn a lot on your DNA Digivolutions. When you slam a guy and then DNA to pass turn, it'll stay on your turn. So it's a really fantastic effect to gain memory and to extend our plays to make sure we are still able to do a follow-up after we DNA, which is oftentimes can be kind of expensive since it requires 2 bodies to do. Now, a lot of people may prefer running the old ExVeemon, the one from X1, because this one has jamming, letting you be aggressive at an earlier level, and still having the same inheritable of giving something with this deck jamming. So that is definitely a great card. If you prefer it as your playstyle, you can absolutely run it. I don't even think you need to max out on it replacing this one. You could definitely do like some 3-2 splits, something like that, and find your ratios to include the old X jamming Veemon if you want to aggro early. I definitely think there's absolutely an argument for it, but I really like the memory gain that this one offers, and I think people are going to realize that a reason Imperial may not be seeing a lot of success in the early meta is because a lot of people are trying to play it like the old deck and be super aggressive into the OTK. While it is still very good, yes, there is a lot better security in BT12, and a lot of decks are able to outpace you very fast. So I think the better avenue to take the deck is, which I'm going to show here in this list, is a more control aspect. Which is why we have our Lighdramon in here, which is why we have the new Paildramon, some Megadeaths, and why we're not going all in on the new Imperialdramon that quickly DNA'd ups. I think being able to control the board a bit more and slow down the game to your pace or get rid of things on the field is really important in this format, because truthfully Imperial as a DNA deck is just kind of slow into this meta. It has so many pieces that it needs to see. It needs to see both of its level 4s, then it needs to see the level 5 that it wants to go into for that DNA to even be possible, and then after that you have to hope you have a tamer to be able to on-swing go into a faster climb into your level 6s, or if not, just hope you even have the level 6s at all to have a follow-up play to pass turn. So it's kind of a lot to ask of it to keep up with the meta pace of red hybrids and Veemon and even hunters to an extent. So I think being able to go to a control aspect and get rid of people's stuff on the field so they don't get to use it as sources or float and stuff like that is really important. So that's the justification behind 4 of the new ExVeemon. After that, we have the little spicy tech here, Wanyamon. So this is 5 memory Tower Slam, 4000 DP, 3 to Digivolve from a blue level 3, but a Digivolve 0 from Calamaramon, which you don't really care about because we don't run it in this deck. But the spicy thing is, this is a hybrid. It is, you may Digivolve this card from your hand onto one of your blue tamers as if the tamer is a level 3 blue Digimon, and then when Digivolving, by placing one level 3 blue Digimon card from your hand at the bottom of one of your blue Digimon's Digivolution cards, the Digimon gains jamming for the turn. So this gives it for the turn. So you could put the old Veemon underneath it, and then you get your swing as a security, and the only thing you're scared about are options. So you get that additional swing there off of this Ranamon in the English double, I believe, and then after that you could DNA Digivolve because you put this thing underneath it by hard slamming a green level 4 or something like that. So it's a nice little avenue to have there, because sometimes you're one swing away from game, this is your hybrid to go for game, and if not, you have the avenue to extend plays with it with the DNA Digivolution. Another tech you could run is Lighdramon. Lighdramon is the blue card from, I believe, X2 set. And that gives you the inheritable if this Digimon has jamming when attacking, gain 1 once per turn. So Lighdramon gaining itself jamming synergizes pretty well with this card if you want to run it, because then you can put it underneath it, gain the jamming and additional swing. So it extends your plays a little bit there, paying itself back a bit. So that's an additional tech choice you could consider running. After that, we have Stingmon. This is 4 memory to hard slam, 4000 DP, and then when you play this card from your hand, if you have a blue Digimon in play, reduces play cost by 1. Inheritable when attacking, if you have a blue Digimon in play, draw 1. So that inheritable does count itself if it's like a Paildramon or an Imperialdramon, so you will get, every restand will get a draw, so it's not once per turn. And then you'll be playing this guy out for 3 memory pretty commonly because of your other blue guy on the field to DNA Digivolve. There is justification for the new Stingmon, which is basically just ExVeemon again, but now it's green and has its, you know, the draw stuff. That new Stingmon in BT12, I would probably do like a 3-1 split, or maybe cut Ranamon and do a 3-2 split. You know, that's also very justifiable. It's up to your personal preference. Then we have Lighdramon. Digivolve 2 from Veemon, Armor Purge, which means it trashes the top card to survive deletion. And then when Digivolving, suspend one opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So another good option to be able to remove stuff on your opponent's board, or just suspend it to set up for an Imperialdramon play. This thing is dual color, so it can unsuspend off of the Digivolution with Davis and Ken on the field. So that is basically like an additional hybrid you can go for game with this dude. So that's interesting there to get some extra swings, and again, offering more control options. And being dual color, you don't have to worry about having the corresponding color champion as much. This guy is blue and this guy is green. So whichever other color champion you have in your hand, you can just slam it out, and then that will activate your DNA Digivolution if you have the inheritable 2 DNA. Or if you just are not passing turn regardless, you can just DNA then and there. So that is a fantastic use of Lighdramon because he has both of the colors. That covers our champions, and we're going to be moving on to our ultimates. This is where stuff starts to get spicy with the new support. You have the new Paildramon, 8 memory to hard slam, 8000 DP, and it is a DNA Digivolution from a green or blue level 4. When Digivolving, trash the top 3 Digivolution cards of all of your opponent's Digimon. Then when DNA Digivolving, 2 of your opponent's Digimon no Digivolution cards can't attack until the end of your opponent's turn. This is a fantastically powerful effect because Tommy got banned just for trashing 3 on play, and then Inheritable being able to stun something when attacking. And this dude is doing it all on Digivolution. Up to multiple stacks gets to trash 3 of them. That's insane. And then 2 of your opponent's Digimon are stunned off of that. Like, it's really good. And then Inheritable, end of attack. If this Digimon is Imperialdramon Digimon its name or for its traits, gain 1 memory, which is again another way to accelerate your DNA Digivolution climb by gaining back your memory so you can extend your plays. This is a fantastic card for the right scenario, which basically just like look out for your opponent's board state and decide to go into this instead of Imperial if you know you're not going to win that turn. And then of course we have the old Paildramon. This one is 4 copies. When Digivolving, when DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon 6000 DP or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. This is very important in certain matchups. Into hunters, you can bottom deck a lot of stuff so they don't save it, so they have less materials to be able to reduce Digivolution costs later in the game. And against red hybrids, this is very important if their stuff lives or if they didn't swing for whatever reason that turn, and you can bottom deck something so they don't get their undeletions to float into another Takuya or another Flamemon. So that when DNA Digivolving effect is very important into this meta, and when attacking, unsuspend this Digimon once per turn. Again, really great with our inheritables like that Stingmon earlier, letting us draw additionally for each unsuspend and each swing. And being able to aggro at an early level is definitely appreciated. As I said, I think the control aspect of its when DNA Digivolving and the rest of this deck's DNA Digivolving effects are the more stuff we should focus on for this format. But it is good to have that aggro option when the opportunity is there. Then we have the new Dinobeemon. It is also a DNA Digivolution requirement, and when DNA Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and this Digimon gains plus 3000 DP for the turn, then this Digimon can attack your opponent's Digimon. So even if you were to pass turn, it could still attack your opponent's Digimon because of that last line of text and its effect. Getting plus 3000 puts that at 11,000 DP, which contests a decent amount of Megas, level 6s, so it's pretty cool to be able to quickly attack over your opponent's level 5s, or maybe even a weak level 6 that they have out. Inheritable, your turn once per turn when your Digimon with Imperialdramon its name or free and its trace deletes one of your opponent's Digimon by battle, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So this pairs very well with the new Davis, because if you're going to use that effect, you can trigger the when attacking to trigger this and then go into your top end, and then its inheritable will be live. So that'll be cool to trash your opponent's security stack and get safer swings. I think if anything, you might even want to like prioritize this guy over the old Paildra and new Paildra, just like a bit somehow. Like that ratio is definitely up to you, because that inheritable is crazy into this format and very important. Now we have our level 6s. We are still running 2 of the old Imperialdramon because this thing is really crazy to be able to set up additional plays, not just for next turn, but for the same turn. If you go into this guy without passing turn because of all the new support, this guy is insane because you get the 2 additional bodies out from the sources to go for a follow-up DNA Digivolution play. And usually if you have the new Paildramon, you can practically win off of that most of the times, and if not, you get to remove something or stun something with the Dino B and the Paildramon. This guy is incredibly good as an extender, and I think people are really sleeping on this guy in favor of new Toy Syndrome with the new Imperialdramon Dragon Mode. It's great for extending plays. But we do have 2 of the new one. The Digivolves 3 from Paildramon or Dino B, and then when Digivolving, if a blue card is in the sources, unsuspend this. If a green card is in the sources, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's basically setting itself up for another attack into your opponent's board. End of attack, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a Digimon card with Paildramon its name in your hand for its Digivolution cost. When this Digimon will Digivolve by this effect, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. And since the new Fighter mode has a Digivolve 2 from the Imperialdramon Dragon mode, a special evolution box, it is basically going into it for free most of the time. This is part of the combo that people hype up that is able to very quickly go into a level 6 for such few memory and still leaving you with some memory to play with for the turn. It's really cool. However, this is a power play, and I really think you're only going to need to go into this once if you were playing it right and make that huge swinging momentum, basically securing the game. So I don't really think you ever run more than 2-ish of this unless you're going like really all in and planning a different strategy of OTK. Because as I said, this list is leaning a bit more into the control aspect that Imperial does have access to, so I think this guy is fine at 2, and honestly I was even running it at 1 for a bit and then 3 of the new guy. I think you could even play with 3 of the starter deck Imperial, really, because it's such a good extender. Because like, yeah, you really just need that one crucial turn of this guy getting its effect off into the quick Digivolution and then putting you far enough ahead because the new guy gains blocker for that turn that you would be good. And don't really need to see him more than that. So I think like just 2 copies, 1 to 2, just enough so that you actually see it when you might need it is good. After that, we have the new Imperialdramon Fighter mode. Digivolves 2 from Imperialdramon Dragon mode, otherwise it's 5 from a green or blue level 5, 13,000 DP. When Digivolving, spend all of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards. Then, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. By returning 1 Dragon mode and its Digimon's sources to its owner's hand, return all of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their owner's deck instead. Again, incredibly important to make sure stuff that wants stuff deleted or under tamers is not on the field. So that's great there, and it's just so powerful because you get to return multiple stuff if you have Dragon mode. They don't need to have no sources to be bottom deck either. They just need to have no sources to be suspended. So if your opponent already swung into your board and this is your punish, you know, by bottom decking them, then you don't really care if they have the sources anyways. So it's a really good card there. And then all turns, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each color in its Digivolution cards. While this Digimon has 2 or more colors in its Digivolution cards, it gains security attack plus 1 and blocker. Awesome effect to be able to quickly start catching up in security and bringing their count down. And then the blocker is huge to be able to buy some extra turns and make sure they don't have lethal when you're just catching up, because this deck again does struggle a bit with speed into the meta, so it needs that kind of stuff to slow it down. That covers all the Digimon in this list. From there, we're moving to our options and tamers. One of Ice Wall. This makes them lose 2 memory on every single swing on all of their Digimon until the end of their next turn. So it's really important to buy yourself some turns to set up with it. And then we have Hammer Spark. We got 2 of them here just because they're great, fantastic security bombs, which is great to pair with Megadeath to make your security more threatening. But also with all the memory gaining in this deck, you may sometimes only be like 1 or so memory off from being able to keep it your turn, or from being able to do a follow-up play to win that turn. So Hammer Spark is here to make sure we have those. It's a little bit cloggy at 3 to 4 with how many pieces you already need in this deck, so I really don't think we could sacrifice the space for more copies. So I think 2 is a really good compromise to be able to have that flexibility in your memory management to get some extra plays in for the turn. Then we have Megadeath. This is 5 memory, dual color card, so you will need both of the colors on the field to activate it, but it's very easy for this deck. Main, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. Really great non-destruction removal that gets around a lot of stuff. There is a bit more bounce protection in the format with Black Wormmon running around, but that's about it. You're otherwise really happy to see this into like Gallantmon, Hunters, the Mirror, Red Hybrids. It's a great removal option, especially when it comes out of security. Our tamers start off with the new Davis that is introduced in the set. 3 memory Tar Slam. Start of your main phase gains you a memory if you have a Digimon with free in its traits or a tamer with Ken in its name in play. And then your turn, when one of your 2-color blue and green Digimon attacks, by suspending this tamer, you may Digivolve it into a Digimon card with Paildramon in its name in your hand for its Digivolution cost. So this combos very well with our low end. Like even our Lighdramon can swing an attack and go into a Paildramon with this. But usually what you're going to be doing is going to go into like the Paildramon or the Dinobeemon, older new one, you know, and then you're going to tap this dude to be able to go into your level 6s quickly to get those when attacking effects off and your inheritables and stuff. So it's really good synergy with the deck there to be able to climb quickly on the same turn. Then we have 3 of the old Davis because he's a fantastic searcher. He does cost 4 memory, which is kind of expensive, but start of your turn, if you have 2 memory or less, set your memory to 3, which is synergizes very well with the rest of our tamers because they gain all those memories after you've been set to 3, so it gives you a lot of memory to work with. Like a lot of turns you'll be at 4, you know, if you have both tamers out. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon card among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this does get you 2 pretty commonly in this deck because of the color of our deck. So it is a fantastic searcher that really ups your hand size in this deck. Then finally we have the BT8 Davis and Ken, 4 memory, and the start of your main phase, if you have a blue Digimon in play, gain 1 memory. If you have a green Digimon in play, gain 1 memory. So again, that does stack with the old Davis to be able to gain us memory. And if we have both colors of these out, we get 2 memory, so that puts us to 5 most turns. That is awesome. Really huge for this deck that needs that memory. And then your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you may suspend this tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. Again, as mentioned at the beginning of the profile, that is a good way to get lethal. With that, just 1 more extra swing you get off of the unsuspend. It pairs well with our Lighdramon and all of our level 5s and all of our level 6s. And the memory gain is huge. So that is going to be the profile. This does lean more into the control aspect of it. I know a lot of people will be trying to build the OTK version, and I think that is great too. I just think this one will have a bit more of a chance here. I have had fun testing this because Imperialdramon is one of my favorite Digimon, or rather more specifically Paildramon is one of my favorite Digimon, and the DNA Digivolution mechanic is a really fun mechanic. I love how thematic it is. I have a video talking on it if you want to watch it. I've mentioned it before. Unfortunately, the problem with the Paildramon is that you have to see a lot of pieces as mentioned at the top of this video. There's a lot of comboing you need to do and drawing to get all your DNA Digivolution value off, and otherwise if you don't, you're wasting turns that is you cannot be wasting in BT12. You just can't, because decks will run away with the game if you do that, especially Paildramon, which can win the game on like turn 3. I've seen it with my own eyes. So you're either passing turns, wasting time, digging for pieces, or you're digivolving for an overpriced effect because you didn't get the DNA part of the effect off. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, they sped up DNA as much as you can while still keeping it fair, I think, but the problem is the rest of the format is so much faster in comparison, because you don't need to be digging for 2 bodies constantly to get these incredibly strong effects off they get for normally playing the game, but just a normal climb. So, well, here's hoping Imperial gets even more support in the future, because he is an O2 Digimon and we have an O2 movie coming up, who knows. Well, anyways, I still have fun playing this deck. It's great for the locals level, and you will definitely be able to compete at your locals for sure with this list. Let me know what you are running instead and how you are playing Imperial. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.